Okay, I know what you're thinking. You really are the king of culture sticks, and you know what? You'd be right. Sometimes I don't even have to try. It just comes so naturally to me. Now, Vindictus is a game that I have a very troubled history with. On the one hand, well, it's difficult to play one-handed. Okay, maybe that joke was in poor taste, but I know some of you were going to make it in the comments section. Vindictus is a game that I have always recommended to people, but I've never really dedicated much time to, weirdly enough. So I have been dedicating some time to it recently, as the new class just released, and my god, the devs really know what I look for in a character. Legit, I feel like she's perfectly tailored to my specific interests. And while this is I do want to stress this here, not a review of any sort, I did want to make a video with some of my thoughts thus far. I'll have a more dedicated video on Vindictus sometime in the near future, once I've gotten further through the game where I don't have to deal with people complaining that I only spent like an hour in the game, but until then, Vindictus is admittedly one of the most entertaining hub MMOs that I have played in recent memory. It isn't an open world MMO. If it were, I feel like this probably would have been what Black Desert is, but for the free MMO market. As to date, I feel as though the combat in Vindictus is almost unrivaled within the MMO scene. While we're limited in terms of what we're capable of doing, where we're allowed to go and how frequently we can engage in activities, as there is a fatigue system in place, I found that I am not playing nearly enough where this is necessarily an issue for me. I can foresee it being for some players that no life the game, but at the ripe old age of 31, I just do not have the time nor the energy to dedicate to games like I used to. Now, I have made it quite a bit further than I believe I ever have in this game in this playthrough already. And let me tell you, it has been quite the ride. I have been through 5 or 6 entire zones already, with each zone having their own unique aesthetic look and feel to them, their own style of traps, their own selection of enemies, and most importantly, their own bosses to murder for some sick loot. I did this in outfits like this, and outfits like this, and even like this at one point because I felt like testing whether the claim that less armor means you take less damage was true. And honestly, I was far too distracted to have really gathered any kind of useful data, which was my bad, but I mean, can you blame me? Now, I know hub MMOs are definitely not for everyone. It can feel as though at times you're just sitting around running small instances with no clear direction. Trust me, I can totally relate. I feel that way at endgame in MMOs when all you do is queue for dungeons or raids. You just get to experience what is traditional MMO endgame for the entire leveling process in Vindictus. But at the very least, the dungeons you get to run are not bad, and they provide you with that added benefit of learning your character. And you get some pretty amazing views in the game, for real. If anyone says this game is ugly, you show them the incredible environments, the stunning aesthetics, and most importantly, the plot. Yeah, there is an actual ton of narrative in Vindictus. Granted, I know I'll get some flack for saying this, but I did skip the majority of it. I mean, come on guys, who here actually plays MMOs for their story, right? Nobody, unless you're playing something like Final Fantasy XIV or Star Wars The Old Republic. Now, if you're still with me, then you have actually stuck around a lot longer than I thought you would have, so well done. I can relate, as I've stuck with Vindictus longer than I thought I would have as well. And yes, if I'm being entirely honest with you all, the character models are definitely a part of that. I do like aesthetically appealing games, and even more so the characters within said games. And if you take a look at the characters within Vindictus, my god, there are so goddamn many, and they all look so incredible. Like, they were just ripped from a catalog of supermodels. You know what? Instead of Victoria's Secret, we can call them Vindictus's Secret, except, you know, since everyone plays them, they're a really poorly kept secret, I guess. I don't know, guys. It sounded better in my head. But seriously, regardless of how Vindictus is doing in terms of population, regardless of how pay to win the game might be, can we just take a minute here to appreciate what makes the game worth playing for the majority of us? combat. Seriously, being able to engage enemies with the type of combat Vindictus has is what has kept the vast majority of the player base around. This, to date, provides players with some of the best action combat in the entire genre, and I cannot stress enough how much other MMOs need to take a look at this and improve upon it. Being able to interact with the environment, being capable of picking up enemies and just body slamming them, heck, even using enemies as weapons to launch at other enemies as projectiles is just the most ridiculously over-the-top thing that I have seen. And the fact that you have environmental traps, you can impale enemies, like, as I mentioned earlier, if Vindictus were an open world MMO as opposed to a hub MMO, this would have been the king of the free MMO genre, easily, absolutely no competition. If only I had more money to spend on outfits, because there are more outfits here than I have dollar bills to throw at. Granted, I do feel like I went with one of the better outfits available, but seriously, take a look at this selection. I have had an unexpected amount of fun playing through Vindictus thus far, and honestly, I have every intention of continuing this to get as far as I possibly can in the next week or so I can get a slightly more complete look at the game before going ahead and doing a What is Vindictus video in the next week or two. Until then.
Someday soon, I'm gonna make